before Eliyahu had the chance to get us steps. I sent a note over the wall that told him to send a note over the wall when he wanted to communicate. His response took so long, I worried he fell asleep. A lot of cage students would sleep in the afternoon. Since the robots couldn't see your face, it was easy to get away with if you didn't put your head down onto the desk. While I waited for Eliyahu to write me back, I returned to the problem of the random 3 code, of why I couldn't come up with something better. I started to think about how Flowers had said I was too methodical, too systematic, how I'd thought he was probably right ever since he'd said it, and for weeks he kept trying to be different than he'd said, like when I towel-snapped the neck of the janitor that morning. That was the most successful I'd been. I didn't have any reason to towel-snap his neck. Rather, I had a reason to attack someone who didn't deserve it. I had to find out if I was a sadist, and a reason to attack that person in the locker room. Teachers were scarce there. Most fights went unpunished. But my target could have been any one of at least 10 kids who I had gym with and didn't like. From that list of 10, I'd chosen the janitor at random the night before. But then, because it was him I chose, his best friend Rodrigo started fighting with me. And that fight was noisy enough to rouse Disorme, who brought me to the office where I got to flirt with June, then meet Eliyahu. And now I was in love and getting sat next to, so it was definitely good that I towel-snapped the neck of the janitor. I don't doubt that, but now that I thought about it, because there was no reason to pick a fight with the janitor, seemed like a reason to pick a fight with the janitor. And if that was the case, there was reason in everything. Or maybe it was more like reason was inescapable, at least for me. And if reason was in everything, it would seem to make sense for me to continue to be methodical and systematic. And if reason were inescapable, then I couldn't help but continue being methodical and systematic, except I felt snared in a word trap and cowardly for it, like a guy on a gallows worrying about rope burn. The cage was the trap. The cage was a cage. A kid groaned in his chair. I revolved to face Benji. He pointed at Eliyahu and shrugged his shoulders while curling his lips in around his teeth. In a I don't understand who this person is look. I nodded once and showed Benji a power fist, meaning he is a friend. And Benji made 2 fists, held one on top of the other the tall way, and did circles with them at chest level. I didn't know what that meant, but he followed it with the lips curl and the shrug. Next he waved a sideways goodbye under his nostrils, which at first I thought meant it stinks in here. But then he followed it with the shrugging and the lip thing again, which seemed to mean, I don't know why it stinks in here, but because I couldn't smell any bad smells either, and because it didn't make any sense to me that he didn't understand why the cage was so awful, I was confused. I heard the tap of a note landing on my desk, and I revolved to face forward. Instead of balling up the note, Eliyahu had folded it into a box. That took longer than crumpling, and it didn't make noise. And the thrown one's trajectory was at least as reliable as that of a bald one's. I had never even thought of boxing the note. I opened the note. It said, "The cage manual is long and full of topies." I wrote, "I don't know topies. Is it Hebrew? Yiddish? You are smart to box this piece of paper. I always crumple." I boxed the note and tossed it. A kid groaned his chair. 2 more and I'd revolve again. Gesture at Benji. The note came back. To crumple is noisy. Topies is a spelling joke in English. I wrote, you are a very quiet kind of funny. I lie. Boxed it, tossed it. I heard a fly buzz. A kid groaned his chair. Tap. The note said, better this than a very funny kind of quiet. It is a very funny kind of quiet in here. It's no picnic. You weren't kidding before. How much longer till the day ends? I checked the clock. Wrote, 1.5 periods plus 1 passing period equals 60 minutes plus 5 equals 65 minutes. I have no work to do, Eliyahu wrote back. I will doze. Please enjoy a disc of butterscotch, my favorite. A disc of butterscotch came over the wall. It shattered in its wrapper when it hit the desk. Chair groan, chair groan, chair groan, chair groan, aggressive squeaking. I revolved to face Benji. He revolved too, but not to face me. He looked instead at Benoit Wolf, the source of the chair groans, which hadn't yet ceased. And so did most of the rest of the cage, including the teachers and Bolta. Aggressive squeaking, Bolta said. Benoit stopped. He said, I've had my hand up for... Bolta interrupted him. Stab one, Mr. Wolf. That's what you'll get for aggressive squeaking, isn't it? Stab one in 10 minutes till you're called on. Plus, 10 minutes till you're called on, Mr. Wolf. Plus another 2 minutes added for each word you speak. It's words, so that's 12 minutes. Benoit chewed his lips, shut his eyes to the wrinkling, crossed his legs at the knees like a lady being interviewed. A bunch of kids giggled. Someone said, Ben Gay. I didn't see who. Face forward, all of you, Bolta commanded. I counted 7 and did it. To Eliyahu I wrote, thank you for the butterscotch. I folded the note, but then I unfolded it and wrote, don't write you're welcome back to me. It's not worth risking a step to toss a note that says you're welcome, or even thank you. I'm only writing thank you this once so that you'll know I'm not thoughtless. From now on, though, if you give me something in the cage, assume that I am thankful. I will do the same with you. Dream of victory. Over the wall. I untwirled the wrapper of the butterscotch and put the 2 biggest pieces in my mouth. I fought off my teeth. My teeth wanted to chew. A fly buzzed into my carrot, then left, then came back. And then the note came back. It said, you're welcome. I will write that just once too, but I mean it. I carry many discs of butterscotch in my pockets. It is something I learned in Brooklyn. I would give butterscotch to Bathsheba Wasserman, who is the love of my life. When I would keep discs of butterscotch, it helps me remember Bathsheba, who I hope to dream about instead of victory. Or maybe as a kind of victory, the best kind, loving her. Either way, I should thank you for helping me to remember. Bathsheba is very beautiful, with black eyes and ringlets, and dresses so long she hovers when she walks away from you. Even as I fail to describe her. And even amidst these humbling conditions, what is that teacher's problem with the tiny white-haired boy? He looks like a nice boy, no? I have joy. And now, a snooze. I tucked the note in my pocket. I would save it in my documents lockbox, and on the 20th anniversary of their wedding day, I would give it to Bathsheba. Along with the drawing I would ask June to make of Eliyahu as a boy. Bathsheba would weep tears of happiness, and all our sons would practice stealth in the yard together, speaking Hebrew to each other. This would be in Jerusalem, behind the limestone house, where my mother was a girl. We had pictures. One was in a frame on the living room wall. My mother is sitting under some blossoms in it, eating a Jaffa orange that her father is peeling apart the segments of and handing to her. It was the first picture I ever saw of my grandfather, who was a very dark-skinned person who died the same year I was born. I'd seen it 1,000,000 times in the frame on the wall, but one time, when I was 3, I saw my mom stare at it, and I looked at it more closely and asked her, "Who is the man?" It is the earliest conversation I can remember. My mom said, "He is my Abba." I said, "No, he is not." She said, "Why do you say that?" I said, "He is not Jewish." She said, "He is." I said, "No." She said, "I do not lie to my son." But I didn't believe her, and she knew it, so she showed me his medals. The letters engraved in them were Hebrew. I couldn't read it yet. You see, he was a soldier in the 6-Day War, in the Yom Kippur War, and in Lebanon. He was a hero. You see how young I was? Just older than you. I said, "Why was he a hero?" "What?" she said. "What made him a hero?" "He kept the people he loved from being killed by others." "How?" I said. She said, "Speak in sentences to your mother." I said, "How did he stop the others from killing?" My mother said, "He killed them first." I can never remember when my father came into the room, or where he was sitting or standing, but he was there by then, and they had a fight. I don't remember what they said to each other either, just that it was loud, and that while I cried, the tears magnified everything, and my mother looked browner than me, and my father pinker. After they finished fighting, we all got ice cream on D-Long, and then went to Rosenblum's books, where she bought me a Chumash with a leather-colored cover. I had read half of Bereshit in English before I went to bed, and in 14, at the part where Avram arms his 318 servants and takes war to the 5 enemies under Chedorlaomer, who had captured Lot, I could see Avram put his fist to the ground, and the desert cracking open to swallow his enemies, and I could see his face. It was the face of my grandfather, and I saw that it was good. A minute before the end of the period, a girl on the other side of the cage said, "No." Then someone else said, "Oh, quiet down, sir." Bota said, "Sit down." I revolved. There was a half-circle of students standing behind Benoit Wolf. I could see his white hair through the gaps between the hips. The whole cage had revolved. Bota told the standards to get back in their seats. They shifted. That is when I and everyone saw that Benoit Wolf was wet. He was crying without tears, and without any throat sounds, only with his breath. And his hand was raised. His hand is raised, I thought, and he wet himself, I thought. His right hand is raised, and his piss is dripping into the carpet, I thought, staining the carpet. I thought, his hand in the air. The end of class tone sounded as Bota approached Benoit with a pass. "Go to the nurse and get cleaned up." Benoit ignored him, revolved his chair slowly till he faced the center of the cage. He said to us, "This isn't normal. I'm 11 years old. This is not normal at all. Can you believe this? I can't believe this. Can you believe this?" No one answered him. It was the worst thing. Benoit said, "Bota." It was past 12 minutes. "Why couldn't you call on me?" Benoit said. You could hardly hear it, and you couldn't help but hear it. Bota shook the pass until Benoit finally lowered his hand and took it. I thought of a song, a terrible, cloying, cute little mean song. "Hey, Benoit Wolf, why is your hand in the air? You're crying and soaking. Piss streams from your chair. I wonder and wonder and wonder and wonder, wonder and wonder what makes you so scared." I had to press my tongue to my mouth roof with my eyes rolled up while I dug a thumbnail into my neck to make the song go away. There were always songs, and they always rhymed, and everyone laughed when they sang them. No one sang any songs this time. The day's last teachers came in and sat at the cluster. I was English. Mr. Meineke, Miss Coast, Miss Beepy, Miss Anoko, Mrs. Ghost assigned me a Kurt Vonnegut story called Harrison Bergeron. Flowers had me read it 2 weeks before, and I loved it. I read it again there in the cage and loved it less. The ending was cheap. It happened too fast. When Rodrigo and the janitor returned from the office, we all revolved at the gong of the doorbell. Benji pointed to Rodrigo, and then to the janitor, and then he had the shrug/lip curling very frantically at me, meaning that's who I was making confusing gestures about before. I showed him the power fist. They're friends now. He waved me off with 2 hands and looked sad doing it. Rodrigo took a look around the cage. Who died? He said. Wolf, said Main Man. The boy who cried wah-wah? Said the janitor. The boy who went wee-wee, said Forrest Kenilworth. I was across the room before I knew I'd left my chair. Across it so quick, Bolta hadn't finished chuckling yet. Nakamuk had already had Kenilworths are spent. Kids crowded fast and thickly behind us, shoving close together to get a better vista. They jammed together bodies, blocking all Bota's sightlines. He entertained the monitor, Benji said to Forrest. Make him laugh again. Kids were saying, hurt him. Kids were saying, break it. By kids, I mean all of them, but Jelly Eliyahu, Main Man, and me. Bolta was shouting, trying to clear his way, shouting for the teachers to help him clear the way. He should get more than a wrist rest, Vinci told Benji. Please, Forrest said. I'm sorry, he said. It's just fucked up. I was making a joke. It's just fucked up. Main Man said, Nakamuk, Forrest is sorry. He was making a joke, and it's just effed up. He is crying. He means it. He's sorry. Benji let Forrest go as Bolta got through, and we all dispersed. The teacher stood dumbly by their chairs at the cluster, even though Vinci, retreating to his carrel, thumb stabbed him stealth on the side of the neck. Forrest didn't rat anyone. Bolta handed out steps for the following offenses: noise, talking, swears, standing. The fly was on my desk, his hose in the candy dust. I cupped my hand and covered him, then brushed him past the edge to see where he'd go. He returned to the dust as if I hadn't just demonstrated that I could kill him, as if I hadn't just shown him that right there in the dust. I snuck the hall passes out of my bag and wrote the Penumbra poem on the back of one. I held the bottle of Coke between my knees under the desk and blinder clipped the poem to the lip beneath the cap. The fly sucked dust. The end of class tone sounded. Eliyahu went straight to the bathroom. I secured June's gift inside my backpack and charged the locked door with everyone else.